good day, everyone. No matter, I don't know from where you all joined. As I said, I'm happy to present Gerresheimer, what we do and where we stand and where we intend to go. I'll start with an overview, a quick glance. Let me see, it takes a moment until the next slide comes up. Yes, Gerresheimer at a glance, as already said. Yep, there we are. Okay. So what are we? We are increasingly becoming a strategic partner of choice for the global pharma and biotech industry. And with that, I mean all the large players and that we all know are partnering with us. We are offering so-called containment solutions. What does a containment solution mean? It's actually something that helps to bring a drug safely to the patient, be it in a container of plastic or be it in a container made of glass. Second group of products is the so-called drug delivery systems. Here we take care of bringing the drug safely into the patient with different measures, be it a syringe, be it a vial, be it an auto-injector or a pen, or at least be it a pump that pumps the medication into the patient. And then we increasingly offer digital therapy support in a way that we enhance the patient experience with digital solutions being attached to the products we have. We have a history of more than 150 years, having started as a classical glass producer. We were once the biggest bottle producer in the world, and the company has recently started a shift from having been moving sideways and hardly growing to now grow stronger than in the past and addressing all needs of the pharma and biotech industries. And this transformation is ongoing. We have started to see initial effects, and we will soon see much more of that as we go on. So what is it? The vision we have here is, as I said, to become and remain a leading partner for global pharma, biotech, healthcare, and beauty industries, because not only are we offering a containment and delivery solution for the pharma industry, we're also offering containment solutions, for example, for cosmetics, for the cosmetics industry. So really fancy flacons for perfume or for other cosmetics. Those are produced in our fabs, as well as also solutions for the food and beverage industry. We are a growth company and as such an innovation leader and increasingly a solutions provider and systems integrator. This is very important to note this. And we have an innovative platform and solutions for customers worldwide. We have more than 50 locations. We are situated in 16 countries, have more than 1,500 pharma, biologics, and cosmetics customers. We have around about 2 billion euros of revenues and an EBITDA margin last year of around about 20%. We have in total 35 plants, and we have around about 12,000 employees and produce 18 billion products every year. We have leading positions in most of the markets we address. So number one or number two or positions, as I said before, we serve the top 10 of global pharma companies as our customers. So I told you about the transformation which is going on right now. This transformation becomes increasingly visible. We have a unique and very broad product portfolio. We have the capabilities of combining these products in an intelligent way to offer higher value solutions to our customers. We have a long-standing experience from having been in the market for a long time, especially in the very highly regulated pharma markets, where customers rely on the quality of the packaging. Otherwise, can rely on the quality of the packaging. Otherwise, they would not choose for you as a supplier. And we, as I said, add increasingly value for customers, and as such become a systems and solutions provider. We are strongly investing. We are currently driving our global expansion. Many of these projects are directly customer driven, so they are supporting our expansion with orders that we already have in the books, be it in the US, be it in South America, be it in Europe, so also in Asia. Important is to note that we are in the region and produce there for the region. So we are not shipping products throughout the world if not necessary. No, we rather produce them in the region where the customer is situated. So the transport is much easier, and we are not having the same risk as if you would ship throughout the world that usually our customers would not like to see. We have seen in the past that this can really be disrupted with events that you cannot control. So what is the change that we're driving in order to grow? We have a strong foundation. I told you about our strong business that we and experience we've had. We have a foundation of also high volume manufacturing for different customers in different areas, and we are increasingly adding value-added products that at the end create value at the customer side, and for us also better margins. It is important for our customers, as I said, that we build on operational excellence, that we have different types of products that customers can get from us, and we are fully committed and have a great team that is supporting the growth trajectory. So what I can sum up is that we're in full swing towards a globally active and global system and solutions integrator with products that are not just looking at one component, but are adding different components to a functional unit that we can offer to our customers. So to look at the growth markets we're addressing, which will enable us to grow strongly and stronger than in the past. It's one big area, the so-called biopharmaceuticals. Here we see two strong growth pockets, be it GLP-1, known as medication that is increasingly being used to fight obesity, yes, or be it cell and gene therapies that are being developed that are facing a very strong growth in addition to other areas of the so-called biologics. Very important. What we do is we not only are addressing these growth markets, we are also focusing on sustainable and profitable growth, because only that will enable us to invest further into interesting and also attractive growth areas. So be it organic or also if required, inorganic. So that's important. So growing on our own, paying a dividend, and having at the same time or keeping the opportunity of being financed with a strong rating, and therefore always having the flexibility to invest if required. About sustainability, we also look at the sustainability profile of our company. We've just received the next EcoVadis Gold label, so improved here. We have a strong commitment towards CDP, Carbon Disclosure Project, and also other ratings. We are having top positions there. I told you about the different growth pockets. It's important to note that our principle is based on a strong foundation, solid foundation platform. As said, here again, going through the products, we have our base business in the area of tubular glass, which means we're buying tubes and processing them to make them products such as vials, syringes, ampoules, or cartridges. In the primary packaging plastics, we normally look at container solutions, be it for pills, be it for eye drops or other things. In the US, we are by far market leader, and you see the products here, by far market leader in the provision of so-called prescription drug containers, these orange boxes that we all know from especially US movies. Those are made by our company in the US. Or medical devices, very important here. We talk about inhalers, pens, auto-injectors, and other things that we produce and that are a vital part of our solid foundation platform. And then finally, last but not least, our molded glass business. Molded glass means actually we are producing glass from the raw materials to the end product. And here we're very strong in the area of cosmetics, of food and beverage, and increasingly pharma. But the growth, and this is important to note, the growth comes from areas that we are addressing that are growing in importance. So be it so-called ready-to-fill products, so products that are pre-sterilized that the customer can directly fill with a desired drug, whereas today they usually get non-sterilized products and have to sterilize them on their own before filling them. So this is a step that we take a burden that we take away of them potentially, and we are looking at growth in this space. Syringes, also same thing, syringe systems. So not only the glass tube and the needle, but usually also the other plungers, for example, or parts that come with it. So offering a full system. In other devices, I told you about auto injectors. It's very important. Auto injector is a pen that you use that has one shot, one dose. So you just push a button and then the drug gets injected into your body. Very easy to use and increasingly being used in addition to GLP-1 also for other drugs. Whereas a pen, for example, has an adjustable doses that is mainly used or strongly used in the area of diabetes. Insulin is one of the drugs that is affected here. What I will show you an example of is actually our high-value pharma plastics. So what I told you about combining different components of our portfolio, and this is what we're looking at. And here you see an example. So you have on one side either plastics or glass bottles. On the other side, you see accessories such as closures, such as droppers, or other things that you need. At the end, putting them together, you don't offer just a component like a bottle or a component like a closure. No, you offer a functioning system of a bottle and the required closure. Sometimes the closure has to fulfill certain requirements or has to offer certain functionalities, such as drying the inside, keeping it tight and seal it, as well as having a tamper-proof functionality. You have the choice here. We put it together for you and offer you higher value by guaranteeing the functionality of the combined system. And this is the thinking that we have at the basis of our future growth, doing that more and more and offering that more and more for our customers. Jumping to the results quickly. Unfortunately, we had to change our guidance, which I will get to. But let's view Q3 at a second. We have a growth for Q3, 2.6% versus Q3 last year. Our EBITDA grew stronger, around about 3.5%, and our EPS in a similar pace. We again have seen very strong demand in the area of plastics and devices. I gave you examples of those before. In primary packaging glass, we have an industry-wide phenomenon that we have to deal with which is so-called destocking. I will get to that when we talk about the guidance. And we see a very strong Q4 ahead of us. Unfortunately, not as strong as we hoped for, as we looked for, which is why we had to change the guidance. And in addition to that, to the destocking, we also had other events leading to that effect. Generally, I told you about the revenues, so around about 500 million revenues in the quarter, around about 100 million of adjusted EBITDA, and an EPS of 1.16. Now to the guidance, the adjusted guidance, which we have had to adjust at the end of September. The growth, rather than being between 5 and 10%, we already said in Q2 because of the destocking, which is ongoing. The destocking in the industry, we already pointed at the low end of this guidance at 5%, but the recent events forced us to reduce that even further. Recent events are the destocking, which is actually meaning a inventory reduction that customers are pursuing. So they increase their inventories in a way that they actually realize that they don't need anymore during COVID times. So they're now reducing those levels by simply ordering less. And we would have thought that this normalization going back up from very low order levels to normal levels would go faster, as it continues to be just moving incrementally up. Again, we reduced our growth in the quarter to 3 to 4%. And in addition to that, as a triggering event, we unfortunately had a flooding in one of our plants in the US, driven by Hurricane Helene. And this has to be taken care of. But we had to realize that the revenues we anticipated from the production of this plant cannot be realized in 2024 anymore. And in addition to that, we also had some expectations in the area of food and beverage, which in the sum of the parts forced us to move away from our 5% target. And this is what we came up with on September the 30th. For 2025, our growth is now 7 to 10% rather than 10 to 15 as anticipated before. And one of the reasons is also, again, in the area of vials, the destocking effect lasting longer, so taking longer to return to normal levels. So this delta is missing. But in addition to that, and maybe also maybe also caused by that effect or that longer effect, we also haven't seen a transition from the so-called bulk vials, unsterilized, to pre-sterilized vials, which are called ready-to-fill products. This would have maybe gone faster if the destocking wouldn't have taken so long, and we anticipated that for us. And this is also a part that we are missing in 2025, which caused us to reduce our guidance for that year. In the midterm, we see no change as we see the growth returning, as these effects that I just described are fading away. So numbers, I told you 499 in revenues, and also the EPS numbers we talked about. Cash flow is, as expected, still negative because we're heavily investing. I had a slide before in the different regions where we invest, driven by customer demand, very strongly driven by the customer demand from GLP-1, which is important. So as a full combination, or as a summary here, I can say we're very well on the path of becoming a systems and solutions provider, driven, fueled by our high volume manufacturing expertise, and driving also our profitability increase path going forward. We are executing our strategy exactly leading into this direction. I told you about our commitment to our strong financials, leaving us enough headroom to invest where we have to, or where we think it's important. And we are focusing on the profitable growth drivers that I described to you, in addition to our solid base. And GLP-1 is a very, very prominent example where leading industry players are preparing their market entry with the GLP-1 products, and we are supporting them with the required products of delivery or packaging solutions. And we have a very targeted investment strategy where we invest into capacity expansions driven by customers, supported by customers, and helping them to achieve their targets. So this is a quick update on Gerresheimer, and I'm ready to take questions if there are any.
Yes. Thank you very much. There are already a few questions in the chat, but everyone else is also welcome to post any more questions. So first of all, glass and plastic production is very energy intense. How in general do you see the production move away from Germany? And if not, how would you stay profitable in the medium term with these high energy prices?
That's a very good question. Yes, especially only referring to glass production, where indeed you have really you melt glass, you melt sand and really produce glass, and indeed this is energy intensive. What we do is once these so-called furnaces have to be renewed after 3 to 8 years, we usually modernize them in a way that they can be run with green electricity or gas as a choice. So this is first of all getting the energy consumption overall in a controlled way into the direction of renewable energies. This is important. We have recently announced that our fab in, I think, Mexico, in Belgium, sorry, is fully equipped with solar on the roof and making the production there literally self fueling it with own produced power, which is important. And moving away from Germany is not the full solution, only a partial solution. And as we do have production in Germany, and we are intending to keep the production in Germany, but also, as I said before, we have production elsewhere in the world, and thus we have a more balanced cost situation for also these products. Energy price wise, we've been enjoying a hedging policy, and we have a hedge in place on energy, and which was locked in before the Ukraine war started. So we were not suffering the same spike of cost as many others. At the moment, this hedge is more or less neutral. So we are continuously watching the situation here and thinking about renewing that hedge if required. But for that reason, the energy cost volatility has not hit us as hard as many others.
And can you elaborate on the strategic investments into digital solutions and their expected impact on future business?
The digital solution business is still further out, but I give you some example why this is so important for us. If you have a medical device, for example, that is very close to the patient as it has to be, usually pharma companies would not have access to data from the patient because usually there is doctors and pharmacies in between. So if we can have let's say if we can have an interface on these products that allows, for example, a direct adjustment of the dosage or an improvement of the product or anything like that, we have two beneficiaries, one the patient, and on the other hand potentially the pharma company. That's one thing. And then other examples of digital solutions, if you remember these orange boxes that I told you about, the prescription drug containers. Here, especially in the US, there's a very large cost factor for the healthcare systems by so-called non-adherence. So in the US, you usually get your therapy by the doctor, then you go to the pharmacy, you get the prescribed pills filled into your individual container, and then you have to take these pills on a regular basis. If you don't do that, your therapy at the end might not work, and that could be very, very expensive. Either you end up in the hospital, or you have to restart the therapy, which is creating a lot of costs. So what we developed in our digital solutions area, which is called advanced technologies, is a digital solution that is actually embedded in the cap that knows when the cap is being opened for taking a pill and closed again, and sends this data to the pharmacy, and the pharmacy can tick the box, oh, Mr. Miller took his pill, or a red light comes up if he didn't. Yeah? So this is an important area which we're just starting to market in the US, and that creates a lot of interest and could bear substantial potential for future revenues. And this direction, we think further. We have a basis, we have an interface, we have a solution that you can use as Pharmaco. And what I described at the beginning of the digital solution description the pharma companies are hugely interested in pursuing these ideas further and combining them with devices that they know are very close to the patient. So the investments are actually visible in the area of advanced technologies. This is where we developed all these products and solutions, and this is what we intend to do going forward.
And can you share more details about the production hold at the Morganton plant and how this will affect operations in the coming months?
Yeah, very happy to. First of all, the good news is that we have no loss in personnel, so everybody's fine. Secondly, the infrastructure seems to be back up again, so power and water access to that. Our staff had access to the plant since about a week, so they are really assessing the damages, and we are on very good track that in the coming weeks we could start production again. So in the meantime, we are seeing if we can ship the required products for customers from elsewhere as an exception, but to satisfy customers. And we expect the plant to be coming back up in the course of the next weeks. Yeah, that's for sure. That looks very promising.
And how does the company plan to manage cost pressures while continue to invest in new growth initiatives?
Cost pressure in general in the area of pharma packaging is actually limited. The reason for that is that, first of all, if you look at the overall cost structure of a drug that is well, developed and marketed, the cost of the packaging is maybe a low single digit percentage of the overall cost. So the biggest cost is development and marketing, as you can imagine. So the cost pressure on the packaging part is for that reason very low. And secondly, if the package is not fulfilling all the quality requirements, especially, as I said, in very highly regulated pharma markets, then you have a very high risk of not being able to sell your drug. So therefore, we see there is a giving and taking. We provide the quality required. We are a reliable partner, and for that reason, cost pressure is not so much on our heads. Second part of the question was the investments, or?
Yeah, how do you manage the need to invest and at the same time the cost pressure?
Yeah, the cost pressure I think I discussed about. So not so much cost pressure. It's more the opposite. If we offer more value to the customer, let's say if we have a higher share of the value chain of the customer, they usually pay higher prices, and for us it means higher margins. That's one side. The investments are very much triggered by the need of customer volumes that we discuss with them, and here we increasingly look further ahead with customers, share ideas. We are being invited to roadmap discussions, and with that we can manage our required investments. And secondly, we actually get orders from customers, for example, in the area of GLP-1, and then really invest very dedicated into capacities to fulfill these orders. And those are in some cases protected by customers in a way of so-called take or pay contracts. So they guarantee that they will support the capex investments by relying for us, giving us the guarantee on the order. And secondly, they even give us down payments reserving capacity of the newly built capacities going forward. So once it starts production. So with that combination, I think the investments are very targeted and have a clear return profile, meaning we invest today and 18-24 months later, we see the initial contributions. For example, now in Q4, we have 2 lines going into production. that customers are waiting for. And this is starting to show over 2025 and 2026 increasingly as our fabs or the lines we invested in are going into production.
Guido, Pickert, thank you very much. Great presentation.
Thank you, Herr Greifenberger, and thanks everyone for your interest.